Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Feeling Lighter podcast. I'm Coach Tyler, and this is Dr. Lisa.
Hello.
And I want to ask you a question, Dr. Lisa. We're going to start this one with a question, all right? You got kids, you know?
I do.
So when your kid is struggling, right? You know, you can tell they're really struggling. Maybe with their self-esteem, or maybe they think they're the dumbest in class, or whatever you've kind of experienced, right? As a mom, what do you feel like is the right thing to do? Is it to be like, yeah, you are dumb? Or is it to help them with their self-image? This might be a loaded question here, but let's see what you had to say.
Well, listen, I'm all about honesty. No, I'm joking. I think it's so important to affirm your children.
Yeah.
In the same way I think it's important to affirm yourself. And I think sometimes people assume that means you're lying. You know, like you're going to pretend someone's wonderful and great and smart and brilliant. I don't lie to my children. If they're struggling with something, I can say like, yeah, you've struggled with that, or this is a hard concept, or you haven't been able to grasp it just yet. But, there's more to the story.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't have to define you. So I think affirming people is really important. I think affirming ourselves is really important. And I don't think that we have to hate ourselves to greatness. I don't think we have to hold out our love and kindness for ourselves until we get the thing or do the thing or achieve the thing or become the thing. We can love and accept ourselves exactly as we are today and be okay with that.
And that's what we're going to talk about today. Yeah. Can I love myself just as I am? That's what we're going to be talking about. And I wanted to start by sharing something that happened to the Dalai Lama. Okay? Someone asked the Dalai Lama, what is more important? What is more important? Honesty or kindness? And that's a tough one to answer, right?
It is.
And the Dalai Lama said, honesty? No, he said kindness. Kindness. And that doesn't mean, like you said, you can't also be honest with yourself or with the other people around you. But if it's not packaged in a layer of kindness and acceptance, then it might not even be received.
No.
It might cause damage to your self-image, which will further propagate more damage to your self-image in the future.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people listening right now are interested in changing their mindset away from self-punishment and pressure towards self-kindness and self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And we know this is a hard journey. It's not something we do overnight. But in your own life, where have you seen yourself be able to accept yourself just as you are?
I'm just getting to that now. I feel like the late 30s and early 40s has been my example of like accepting and loving myself where I am, because the rest of my life leading up to that was always about changing myself. How can I change myself and get better and do more and look better and,
I'll be happy when.
I'll be happy when. I literally lived that for so long. It was like this rat race for me, the rat race was to earning my education, getting in a relationship with a man, getting married, having children, buying a home. That was it. I was like, oh, this is what you got to do, and you focus. And if you know anything about me, I know how to focus. And I did all those things. And I did them fast. I did most of them back to back. I literally earned my doctorate degree on August 8th of 2007 and got married on August 18th of 2007. I was like, not playing. Like, because when I set a goal, I can achieve it. I have no trouble focusing, ignoring everything around me, just getting it done. Even my own thoughts and emotions.
Oh, my God. I never knew that. Katie and I got married 1 month after she got through her degree. And it was the same thing. It was just crazy stress.
That's what we overachievers do.
Oh, my God. Stack them. Stack all those life things together.
I'm about to build my life. There is no space for wonder or adventure. I put off something I semi-regret. I put off doing like a study abroad experience to go somewhere. I took Spanish all through high school and all 4 years of college. And I wanted to be a fluent Spanish speaker. And so the goal was go to a Spanish-speaking country, immerse yourself in the culture. And the choice was do this study abroad, come up with the money, figure it out.
Or get married in a week.
Yeah. And put off physical therapy school.
Yeah.
And then delay your goal. And I was like, can't do it. Fuck that study abroad. My goals were serious. So I know that life so well. And I know that it just leads to burnout, and then you not caring for yourself in the way that you deserve to be cared for, because I ignored a lot. And I did achieve it. And that's the misnomer. You can achieve the things. Like, that lifestyle will often get you the thing that you're trying to get. But as we know, you get there and you're like, oh, okay. Oh, now I'm really tired. Now I'm really burnt out. I missed out on other things. And I don't even love myself in the way that I thought I would. I'm not even happy in the way that I thought I would be. I thought that doing all these things, checking all these boxes, I was going to finally get to the place of like, oh, look, I look in the mirror. I love what I see. I love who I am. No. And it's a whole nother freaking journey, untangling and unlearning all the stuff you thought you knew. And then you finally, hopefully, get back to a place where you love yourself and you're content and you're happy with who you are.
Yeah.
And that is where I am finally, not that it's not still a journey, but I am finally in a space where I love and accept myself just as I am. If I change, if my body changes, if my abilities change, I can still love myself and I can rest in that. But it took almost 40 years to get to that. And it's sad sometimes, but also a beautiful part of the journey, right? It is what it is. But 100%, it is a process. And I feel grateful to be sort of emerging in this space of like really valuing and appreciating myself.
I love that.
It took a while though.
You know, in life, I think so many people are focused on getting value out of doing.
Right.
Right? It's like what I do that matters. And if what you do matters and then you can't do it anymore, you don't matter anymore. Mm-hmm. So ultimately underneath that is this false sense of ego, of self that most of us are stuck in chasing. Yeah. And you're not a human doing. You're a human being.
Yeah.
And if you want to change your ability to love and accept yourself as you are right now, then the question is, how good are you at being, not doing? And I think that if we can pause and recognize this as the truth that we're seeking, we can also do, but it doesn't define our self-worth.
Right.
What defines our self-worth is how well we can be with what is.
Yeah. Oh, God. Being sounds like torture.
For most people it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being sounds like you want me to stop and sit down and slow down and listen and tune in and check in. It's not even comfortable.
I got a story about this. All right. I got a story about this, okay? I was doing it all,
I'm a
right?
doer, okay?
I was doing it all. I was doing all the things that I thought would make me feel happy. I had the body and the car and the house and the life and the blah, 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 and the success, right? And I was miserable. Nothing I bought, did, or achieved made me feel any better. In fact, it all agitated that insecurity more. And I realized at some point, a handful of years ago, that I was the problem, and this was not something that was going to get solved outside of me. I needed to solve it inside of me.
Yeah.
I worked with a meditation coach, and he said to me, I want you to do a 20-minute meditation every day for 90 days while we do this thing. And after the first month, we'll meet and we'll do an hour. After the second month, we'll meet and we'll do 2 hours. After the third month, we'll meet and do 3 hours. So it's an intensive thing. And I'm like, no problem. I'm going to do it every day for a year. You don't have to worry about a damn thing. And I will be the most, exceptional student you've ever worked with. And so I did it. The first day, I sat down, and to speak to what you just said, which is being is really uncomfortable, I sat down for my first 20-minute meditation. I set my little timer to give it a bell every 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes goes off, and I'm like, that was a lifetime. I fucking hate sitting this long. My mind was just like, just everything you could ever think of.
Yeah.
Second bell goes ding, 10 minutes. I pause the timer, and I stand up. I'm like, I got to go take a walk. I got to go do something. I had to take a lap to come back and finish my next 10 minutes. So my first chance at meditating, I was so uncomfortable being that I couldn't sit in one spot for 20 minutes. I couldn't do it. But over the course of those 3 months, I was consistent, and I meditated every day and did those longer ones too. And I started to be able to at least sit still. But here's the kicker. Here's the real kicker of this story. It wasn't until 7 months that I had been consistent that I had a moment, and I'm talking a moment, where everything was quiet. Where my mind went quiet, and it was just like, and that was it. It was about that long. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm doing this for.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for the peace that you can gather by being able to direct and control your thoughts away from, I have to believe everything I'm thinking and chase everything that I'm thinking, to creating space for just being present. And that hooked me. That hooked me really hard. I was like, this is why I want to do it. And it made it go from something that I'm doing because I had to change the way I'm thinking because I'm screwing up my life, to like, oh, I really want to do this because it feels so peaceful the more I can access those moments. And then, it was really funny. This journey keeps going. And at day 500, I'm using one of those Insight apps. Insight Timer is one I was using. And I had like a 500-day streak.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, I'm on this meditation. I was doing like an hour a day at that point. I was in this meditation, and somehow this streak came up into my mind. And I was like, yeah, this streak. And then I just started crying. And I was like, oh, this is the same thing I do with everything else in my life.
Turning into it.
I have to do it to the extreme. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't feel like I'm valuable.
Yeah.
And I remember, what do I do with this? What do I do with this piece of insight? And I pulled out the Insight Timer app and I clicked delete, and it said, are you sure you want to delete this app? It will delete all your streaks and data.
Yes.
And I said yes. And I felt so liberated. And now meditation is still very much a part of my life, but some days I do it longer, some days I do it shorter, some days I skip and don't do it at all. And it's so much more freeing. But along that way, man, it took a lot of work to be comfortable with being. Really, like a lot.
That's a great story. And I appreciate the other end of that competition. We will turn peace into a competition.
Yeah.
I got more peace than you did today.
Yeah.
I got more peace yesterday.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Just sit in it and be okay with it. I love that. With regard to this concept of like loving myself just as I am today, I think where it gets tricky for a lot of us is that we can look at ourselves and be critical, right? Mm-hmm. And I think there is room for criticizing ourselves in a constructive way, right?
Oh, yeah, we'll get there.
You know, there are things I want to do better. There are things I want to learn. There are experiences I want to have. There are wounds I want to heal. There are, things that I just want to develop about myself. I want to be a better person. I think that some people think the quest for being a better person is in direct opposition to being content and happy with who we are now. And that is sort of the myth that I would like our listeners to sort of, debunk today. Yeah. You can be working toward a better version of yourself with the same knowledge and insight of, I am still enough today. So we can love ourselves in the process of making changes to ourselves. We can recognize like, oh, this habit that I'm engaging in, it's not healthy. It's not helping me. It makes me feel bad. It's not good for the people around me. And I want to work on getting rid of it. But I can love myself and be kind to myself in the process. I don't have to beat myself into submission to do the thing. And that is where the contradiction comes in for a lot of people, because that is why people say, I'll be good when, I'll be happy when, I'll celebrate when. I tell people celebrate every single small win because you're worth it. And so, there's a fitness instructor that I sometimes listen to or work out with, and she says, you are a masterpiece and a work in progress at the exact same time. Like every single day, you're like, just picture yourself this big, beautiful canvas that is, the story is continuing to be drawn on, but you're a masterpiece, even incomplete. Because you'll never be complete, right, until this journey is over. So just keep that in mind as you seek self-development, professional development, getting better, going to therapy, unlearning bad habits. Like, you're still, like, pretty awesome. And that's how you can hold the space for loving yourself as you are today while trying to be a better person.
Oh, I love this. I got a story for this one, too.
Of course you do.
All right, so if you want to love yourself more and still create space to feel like you can better yourself, and I'll tell you what these things mean. I have a tattoo on my chest that says Semper Milius on one side and Tu Satis on the other side. All right, so I'll tell you about that in just a sec. I'm doing this guided visualization with this guy many years ago, and the visualization was designed to work past your conscious mind and get down to the subconscious mind to get a message that you need to hear, right? So we're going through this whole story, and you're trying to imagine the story while you're going through it, and at the very end, you open this box, and you open this envelope, and you pull out this piece of paper, right? So again, you're trying to get not distracted by your conscious mind, and whatever that paper says is like the subconscious's message to you. So I pull this paper out, and it says, become better. And I remember just feeling like, like the weight of that, like, I'm always trying to become better. Like, this feels so heavy. Like, is this my life? And then I realize, wait, there's something on the back. And I flip it over and it says, you are enough. And I was like, oh my God. Like, what is this dichotomy I'm supposed to hold?
Of the same paper.
Right? Like, become better, you are enough. So that's what tu satis and semper melius means. It's become better and you are enough. And I think it's challenging to hold both of those because most people become better because they don't feel like they're enough.
Right.
And what we want to do is we want to be able to feel like we're enough right now and still be able to look at all of our parts and say, ooh, let's work on that part. Ooh, let's work on that part. Ooh, let's work on that part, and not do it with shame and guilt, but rather do it with love. And that brings me to a part I really want to talk about today, which is there's this misnomer that people think in order to love and accept ourselves as we are, we should be like perfect. We shouldn't have any flaws, right? We shouldn't have any dark parts. Whether we want to admit that or not, that's what we're thinking. Because what we're thinking to ourselves is, I can't love myself because of this, this, and this. And so what are we doing? We're not accepting those parts of ourselves. And this is where honesty and compassion and kindness can coexist. Is if you are looking in the mirror and you know you're a little bit defensive, and you know you can be a little bit impulsive, and sometimes you can be snappy, and sometimes you can be judgmental. I'm not speaking for anybody other than myself right here. And you say, no, I'm not any of those things, because you're afraid to acknowledge that you have flaws, then guess what? You're going to keep treating people in accordance with that. You're going to be defensive. You're going to show up in ways that don't serve you in your community. And people eventually, they're not going to want to spend any time with you because you're not focused on, or you don't have a good sense of self, right? And I think there's this word that's become popular in social media, especially in the psychological circles, which is like doing shadow work. And shadow work is, okay, can I love and accept the things about me that I like? That's the easy game, right?
Very easy.
That's the easy game. Look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that. I love all these parts. Now, wait. What are the parts of you that you know exist that aren't easy, that show up and they're kind of crappy and they're really hard to accept? Can you love those parts? Can you genuinely look at them and say, wow, that part of me probably comes from this place, and it shows up and it damages my relationships. It makes me not a good parent. It makes me feel like I'm not showing up as a good human being. Can I love that part anyways? Can I love that part anyways?
Yeah.
And that's hard work to do. I think one of the most useful things that I've learned in my life to be able to overcome that moment is imagine those parts as your children.
Yep.
Because your kids have done something to you that you're like, I don't want to love and accept this, right? You got to stop that. But what kids need, like we said in the beginning of this, kids need to feel seen and validated and that you're present with them. And most of us run away from our dark parts. Man, we cannot look in the mirror and think about those negative aspects of ourselves in the ways of trying to accept them. We can use them as fuel to try and motivate us, and we can stay ruminating on those negative aspects of self. But can we see them with compassion? That's the hard part.
I think parenthood is actually the window to recognizing that within yourself. I don't feel like I ever acknowledged the negative parts of me from a place of positivity and compassion and acceptance and love. It was exactly that, motivation. All right, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to get better. Or if I don't think I can or it's too hard, I'm going to just ignore that shit. But having children, especially when they display parts of you that you are not as fond of.
Ooh, girl.
Kids were terrorists, okay?
Ooh, girl.
It's like, oh, that is the practice. That is how I learn to be more accepting in myself. It's almost the extent to which I can fully embrace it in my child and not try to get them to change and beat them over the head about it.
You can accept it in yourself.
Is the extent to which I can accept it in myself. And that was probably my training on that, on looking at the uglier parts of yourself or the not so wonderful parts of yourself and saying, like, you know what? This is a part of me. It's not the most pleasant, right? But it's a part of me. And sometimes those things that we don't like about ourselves are there to teach us things about ourselves and about the world. And also sometimes those things really serve us. There are points in our lives where our defensiveness may serve us, when we need to defend ourselves. There are parts of our lives where, the thing that is not necessarily helping us in this moment, or maybe we're not utilizing it in the most efficient way. Like maybe we're overusing it or abusing it in our relationship with our friends or loved ones, but it could come up to be a beneficial tool in a different situation. So it's almost like learning how to utilize the ugly parts of yourself in a productive way, and then accept them and be willing to continue to fine-tune them so that you're not overusing or abusing them, so that they ruin the relationships that matter, the relationship with yourself or with others. So seeing the dichotomy like you see on the paper, it's like I'm enough, but I can do better, but I'm still enough.
Yeah.
Whether I do better or not in this moment, I'm enough, but I can do better.
Yeah.
And I learn how to move within the world in a way where I'm very self-aware, and I know, and that's the other piece, like we can have these qualities that are, you know, quote unquote negative, but I know how to move in the world in a way which I can accept accountability for when I am not doing what it is I should be doing.
Yeah.
So I can look at myself and say, damn, that was rude. Like, I'm sorry. I went too far.
But you get two options in those moments, right? One option connects you and creates communion with your community.
Yes.
The other one disconnects you. And the options are I can defend myself, or the options are I can take ownership over my own actions.
Absolutely.
And so by accepting our darker parts, our shadow parts, we are always pushed towards kindness to ourselves, kindness to others, ownership, responsibility, apology, right? And what does that do? Like, I'll tell you, I've had 100,000 fights with my wife, and every single fight that went a long time was me trying to tell her about why she was wrong about me, right? Oh, no, that's not right about me. Like, I got a proof. Watch, X, Y, and Z, right? And every single time, which is like 10 of the 100,000, that I just go, wow, that must have felt really bad. I could see how me showing up in that way would make you feel like that. I'm sorry. Every single one of those ended with us coming closer together. And it ended a lot faster too. Right?
100%,
and it's hard to do. It's hard to recognize in those moments that what people are seeking is validation for their experience, not justification of yours. Right? They're seeking that validation of their experience. And so, you know, this amazing spiritual woman actually came to our office many years ago. Her name's Byron Katie. And she said something really powerful to me. She said, well, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Oh, fuck. I mean, I want to be happy, but I want to be right too.
Love being right.
You know, you said something really cool back there that I think is really important to highlight, which is most of our gifts are our shadow parts, right? And I think people will think about this like, you know, well, what about this one? What about kindness, right? How can kindness be a shadow part? Well, when you are kind to everybody else and you forget about yourself, and you start to go into self-neglect. So there's behind every shadow part, there's probably a gift that serves you in a meaningful way. And behind every meaningful gift, there's probably a shadow part when we don't create balance in our lives.
Absolutely.
And that's the hard part, is creating that balance and making sure we're offering that kindness to others, yet we're offering it to ourselves. We're using those superpowers, those double-edged swords wisely rather than against ourselves.
It's finding that harmony and that peace. You can do too much of a good thing. That's just the reality. You can do too much of a good thing. Water is great for you, right? But you literally can overdrink water.
You can die if you drink too much water.
So recognizing that you get to utilize the dark, the light, you know, however you want to categorize them, parts of yourself in a way that hurts you or hurts other people. You know, you remember the whole statement, like, kill them with kindness? It's like, I get it, but it's almost like I'm now using my kindness as a tool of manipulation or a tool of, you know, trying to make someone feel bad or shame someone. That's not actual kindness, you know what I mean? It's fake, it's a mask, you know, so you can identify with the good, the better, or the more desirable parts of yourself and the less desirable parts of yourself in a way that is unhealthy in any realm. Being too kind to other people, like you said, and neglecting yourself, that is self-abandonment. That is not where we want to live, you know? So I think it's about letting go of this theory of like black and white, right or wrong, left or right, and recognizing that we all exist in the gray and all the parts of us are valuable, even the less desirable ones, even the ones that interfere with our relationships, and just accepting them. And like you said, taking sort of that ownership and not being defensive, and just know, like, I know I talk a lot, you know, I know that there's times when that's great and that helps someone, and times where it's like, Lisa, shut up. Like, I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So understanding who you are and having a deeper and closer relationship with yourself that's not rooted in self-loathing and criticism all the time, or that negative criticism all the time, is it's sort of that gateway to like having really powerful wisdom and knowing how to show up in different scenarios and knowing how to, beef up the bright parts of yourself and dim down the darker parts of yourself, and knowing when you need to pull from that dark side. Like, we are all combinations of good and bad, good and evil, right and wrong. We're humans. We can't exist on one side of the spectrum and function in this world. We never, like, could you imagine a pure soul in this world that didn't, have any darkness or any negativity in them? Like, they would be devoured. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. we are complex individuals, and I think it's important to embrace all that we are. And for years, I thought it was so important to just try to be perfect and try to be the best version of yourself and be great at everything. And it's like, that is exhausting. You'll never accomplish it. And it doesn't actually serve you in this world that we live in. You need all of that stuff. You really do. You need those bad experiences, and you need those great experiences. That is the sum of humanity. We have to have all of that.
And then the magic comes when we can show up to our great experiences and say, oh, thank you so much. Mm-hmm. And then we can show up to our challenging experiences and say, oh, thank you so much. In fact, I learned something from a spiritual teacher a long time ago. And I was struggling at that point in my life with just, what's the purpose of everything? Like, why am I doing this? It was right in this transition of me thinking that all this external stuff would bring me joy and trying to find something that felt more meaningful. And she said, well, when you're feeling really, really, really frustrated, I got a tool for you. Just take all that frustration in your right hand, put it down in there, all of it. Just get as much of it in there as you can. Just imagine it like a ball of frustrated energy, sadness, whatever you're feeling, anger. And then crumple it up, throw it over your left shoulder and say, this too shall pass. I said, that's great. And she said, and then every time you're feeling a ton of joy, hold out your left hand and put all that joy, all that happiness, all those positive feelings in there. And then I want you to crumple it up, throw it over your left shoulder and say, this too shall pass. And I think that really highlights this reality that life is not about every moment being incredible.
Right.
Life is about embracing all of the moments and recognizing that the more present and accepting we can be in those moments, the more we can access these feelings that make us human in the first place, whether that's sadness and grief and loss and heartbreak, all the way to joy and peace and love, right? And so I think people just need to, really learn how to embrace each moment. And I actually wrote something down that I wanted to share a while back after a meditation. And it was just this moment of me having an awareness around the cycle that at least happens inside of me when I recognize these parts in myself that I have a hard time loving. And what happens is this part shows up. And when I really look into it, always underneath that part is like fear, right? And I go, okay, the fear. Okay, what's coupled with that fear? And usually the next step is like anger or rage or frustration or blame or things like that could be rooted in shame and stuff. And then if I get through the anger and the rage and all those pieces, then I get to kind of more like a sadness, right? Like, you're not so much just wanting to blow it out on everybody else. You're just feeling the weight of that experience or that recognition of those parts of yourself. But if you can get through the sadness, now all of a sudden you end up at acceptance. And acceptance is this really calming part where you're no longer sad, you're no longer angry, you're no longer blaming yourself. You're like, this is what it is.
This is what it is.
And then the other side of acceptance is gratitude.
Yeah.
It's gratitude for all those experiences because it's shaped who you are and it's given you the capacity to accept more aspects of what it means to be a human. And then the cycle starts over. And you repeat that over and over and over again with different aspects of yourself.
I like that. And I love the frustration over your shoulder and the joy over your shoulder. It's so profound because what you initially think is you're going to take that joy and happiness and just
put it in your heart and grip onto it tight.
Squeeze it and hold it there. But that is not life.
No, it slips away just like everything else.
It is not how it's going to be. We have to be content and knowing that good and bad come and go. And it will, as long as we're still here, we're going to keep experiencing those things.
Yeah.
And the peace is being able to say, I still love myself in this process. I still love myself in this process of change. Maybe you're struggling with addiction and you're working on that, right? You don't become worthy once you're no longer living in that addiction. You're already worthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're struggling with something, if you haven't achieved the goals that you want to achieve, like, you can love yourself right in this moment. You don't have to wait until. And I think this comes up a lot in the fitness world where people are focused on weight loss. It's like, I'm going to be happy and I'm going to wear the outfit and do the thing and go for the job and shoot for a relationship once I change my body. And there's nothing healthy about that, because really the joy is in learning to be content with where you are. Even if your body changes or even if it doesn't, recognizing that you're still worthy of those things you want, the way you show up today.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because you're never going to be perfect. It's not a real thing.
Yeah.
You know, we don't even have to keep having that conversation. Perfection doesn't exist. It absolutely doesn't exist. And so shooting for it it's like a null point. Like, what are we doing? And then that acceptance that you talked about that leads to the gratitude of this human experience, it feels so much better than what you think is on the other side of your goals.
Yeah.
Like, I promise you, it feels so much better than what you're perceiving is going to happen when you get to the place or do the thing.
Right, because you might show up in that idealized spot and you're still stuck in fear and hatred and all these different things. You haven't actually done the other work. Like, people need to understand this is two different pathways happening simultaneously, not one pathway that's happening in conjunction with each other. You can go towards doing and achieving and things like that and never do the inner work of being and acceptance, and you will never be happy. You can also not do anything and do the work of being and acceptance and be ultra happy. Or you can do both. You cannot be happy without doing the work that's related to learning how to be with yourself and accept yourself. And this brings up one final thing that I wanted to touch on today, which is, I think the reason why people have a hard time accepting themselves is because of one little word. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
Expectations.
Oh, yeah.
Expectations. I know I share this quote a lot, but it's a Mark Twain quote. I have known a great many sorrows, most of which never happened. And it's just such a beautiful quote to me, because it's like most of the suffering we create in our lives is stuff that we invented in our heads and it never even existed in the real world. And expectations are exactly that.
Yeah.
Expectations are us looking at social media, reading a magazine, even reading a book, listening to somebody who feels really positive and saying to themselves, I should be more like that.
Yeah.
I am going to set a goal to be this. I'm going to do this, or whatever it is. All of it is creating suffering because of your imagined expectations of where you should be.
Yeah.
So one of the most important aspects of learning how to love and accept yourself right now, as you are, is releasing those expectations of yourself and replacing them with being present.
Being present. It reminds me of our favorite book, The Four Agreements, and that not making
Is that your actual favorite book?
No, yeah, it is my actual favorite
Girl, I didn't know that. Dang.
Yeah, I love
right.
it. I almost brought it to the birthday party.
Oh, my God.
It is because it changes the way that you view life. And this whole expectation thing reminds me of assumptions.
Yeah.
We make assumptions. We make assumptions about what other people think about us. We make assumptions about what it's going to mean to have this thing or reach this goal. It's all assumptions. We have no idea. We're creating narratives in our mind to stay safe and to propel us to something great, I guess. And what happens is we're wrong most of the time.
Most of the time. Like most of the time.
Most of the time, we are wrong. And these assumptions that we have allowed to guide us have brought us to more tragedy and more sadness and more feeling unfulfilled, you know. So letting go of assumptions, letting go of these expectations, and just taking life for what it is. And that doesn't mean you can't plan things and set goals and work on, you know, a better version of yourself, but it's like flexibility in the planning, flexibility in the thought process, because we don't know what it's actually going to look like. We don't know if this path is going to lead to that thing we're sort of hoping for.
Yeah.
But we can still be on the path, and we can still be content with ourselves, and we can still be kind to ourselves. And no matter what happens at the end of that, or the perceived end of that particular journey, we've cultivated a love and a respect and a kindness for ourselves that's going to carry us no matter what.
Yeah.
So that's really the end result to me,
Yeah.
and that's what matters.
I love that. And I think there's just one thing underneath that you're kind of alluding to that we talk about a lot, which is like doing isn't a bad thing,
No.
right? Doing things and like trying to do things and improve yourself, that's not a bad thing. We said that a bunch. The question is, what is your intention underneath it? Why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it? And I'll tell you what's really interesting. If you do that inner work of learning how to accept yourself, release those expectations, and be more present with yourself in your own life, what you'll find is you will find your intentions. You will find your why. You'll actually see it. You won't be operating asleep at the wheel, which is what a lot of people are doing right now. They're asleep at the wheel with beliefs they inherited from society and their parents and the people around them, and they're just running their life like that instead of consciously choosing how they want to live. And if we can examine our intentions after we find ourselves and be present with ourselves again, all of a sudden, you're probably not going to be like, oh, I have to go do this because of X, Y, and Z. Because you're going to pause and you're going to say, wait, does that actually fit these intentions or not? Right? Like we talk about a lot here is so many people do fitness to change the way they look. And we want people to realign with changing the way they feel, taking care of themselves, improving their health and how what they're able to do with their bodies so they can enjoy their life for as long as possible. And like, if that's your intention, you take different actions.
Yeah, you do.
Right? Because your actions stem from your intentions, and your intentions stem from your beliefs, and your beliefs stem from how well you're connected to yourself.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They're either things that you were given that you didn't examine, or they're things that you examined and said, this is what I actually want as the core of who I believe I am, my values.
Absolutely. Core values. I encourage everybody to sort of assess like what your core values are, because when you know what's valuable to you, what's really important to you, because there's competing values everywhere, right? But if you know what's true to you, and you can sort of create a life around those values, and you'll see that your behaviors are in alignment with those things. Oh, it's still going to be a journey, right? But it's a much easier path because you know what the actual end goal is, and the end goal isn't some physical achievement. It's like living up to this value, and that may not align with that physical achievement, or it might, but that can be your sort of North Star. So I think that's important for people to hold on to as well.
So if you are struggling to love and accept yourself just as you are, know that no amount of doing is going to get you there. There's nothing that you can do outside yourself to make you feel worthy. That work is an inside job, and it's a job of coming home to yourself, of releasing the expectations you have on yourself, finding appreciation and gratitude for yourself, and doing that over and over again until that becomes the way that you feel about yourself. It's not an easy journey. It's not a fast journey, but it is so worth it.
Yeah.
And we hope you stay on that ride with us.
Absolutely.